Well, the association says until officers like Darren Wilson learn how to deal with diversity, there will always be problems with police and the communities that they serve.
I think that African Americans are perceived as a threat by the very nature of who they are. And until we deal with that basic issue, we're going to keep coming back to this.
Pamela Means is the president of the National Bar Association. That's the largest and oldest network of African American lawyers and judges. They say Wilson should never be allowed to wear his badge.
If you look at some of the words that Darren Wilson said in both his sworn testimony and that he made when he did his interview, he said that the Ferguson community was a hostile environment, that it was full of individuals that were gang members, drug addicts, that they were a community that just wasn't liked, and they didn't like police officers. That's a broad brush to sweep one community.
Means believes Wilson never had proper training on how to deal with people who are different than him.
And until you recondition them to understand that their job is to protect and preserve in those communities, then you'll end up having officers fearful of their life by the very nature of the individuals that live in those environments.
I spoke with Wilson's lawyer, who says Wilson has been cleared of any wrongdoing. If there is a problem with the system, he says the association should go after the system and not Wilson. The lawsuit was given to the Department of Public Safety. The only thing they could tell me is that they are investigating the claim. We'll keep an eye on it. Reporting live in Ferguson, Brittany Noble-Jones, News 4. How did police let you know that they had the wrong person?
He come up to me and he said, we're very sorry that you was in the wrong spot at the wrong time.
Simon Mercer said a police dog bit off his ear Wednesday afternoon after an East Alton police officer forced him on the ground. It all started after Mercer heard a man accuse him of being someone else. What happened when he said, there he is?
The cop come back and told me, get on the ground, get on the ground. I said, get on the ground.
Chad Mercer said he watched police handle his uncle from the window.
And then he's halfway walking up to my uncle. While he's on the ground already complying, he lets the dog go.
I said, ow, he's hurting me. He's hurting me real bad. And the cop was he was taking his time to get the dog off of me.
I spoke with the police chief. He wouldn't give details, but confirms Mercer was not the person police were looking for on Wednesday. Do you blame the officer, the K-9? How does that separate itself?
Well, we're too early in the investigation to speculate on what caused the behavior, what caused the incident. When the detective, the assistant chief, finishes the investigation, I'll know more about how to answer that question.
Okay. This is a small police department. I'm told there are 11 officers here and 2 of them are new. I will stay on top of them for updates. Reporting live in East Alton, Brittany Noble-Jones, News 4. The neighbor, 2 cars headed west on Page, 1 car firing shots at another car. She tells me that there were 3 people in that car. She said she knows that because she went to that car and tried to offer help, but she saw that 1 person was dead. She says that the other 2 people were taken to the hospital. Police are not confirming any of those details. The only thing they tell us right now is that there was a triple shooting right here. Police aren't saying much, but we are working to get more information. And once we do, we will certainly let you know on air and on KMOV.com. Reporting in North St. Louis, Brittany Noble-Jones, News. Well, Steve, in St. Louis City alone, students in 5 different high schools marched out of class. 4 of those marches were unsupervised. I did speak with district officials. They tell me these times are unprecedented, and they're just going with the flow. Students marched through the streets in Midtown St. Louis Wednesday in support of Mike Brown. St. Louis public school officials confirm students at Clyde Miller teamed up with area schools to pull off this protest.
Students from Cardinal Ritter joined in with the students from Clyde Miller in their walk today. And so, again, I think a lot of this is obviously through social media. Students from not just one school, but from other schools, from the community at large, are connecting with each other, and they share a passion for what it is that they believe in.
I'm also told dozens of students at Soldan, Northwest, Vashon, and Gateway STEM also walked out on Wednesday, but these protests were unplanned and unsupervised by adults. Officials tell me they are still deciding if the students will be punished.
It is kind of unprecedented, but again, this is a very, very historic time for all of us, and we're kind of all, we don't have a game book that we're looking at. We're all kind of just looking at it as happens and trying to make the best decisions we can as we move along.
News 4 monitored school protests across the area, including Rittner and Melville high schools. The Hazelwood School District witnessed protests at all 3 high schools on Tuesday, but say protests from now on will not be tolerated.
A lot of them thanked us because they wanted to have the opportunity to say something or have their voices be heard. And I know that some parents don't agree with that. But it's a fine line that you have to balance, because you have to keep in consideration the First Amendment rights, but also you have to keep in consideration that kids are here to learn.
I checked in with officials in the Ferguson-Florissant School District yesterday. About 700 students participated in demonstrations there. Today, that was not the case. Reporting live in downtown St. Louis, Brittany Noble-Jones, News 4. Last week, I reported that Pastor Lee had 71 death threats against him. He says they come from people that he doesn't even know. They'll leave him on the doorstep or maybe even posted on the door. The FBI is investigating. But last night, the pastor says he heard from a police officer, and basically he thinks one of the threats proved to be true when his church was set on fire last night. It's hard to look through this broken window, but it looks like, or it appears, that most of the damage is in the front of this church. Again, this is the Flood Christian Church in the 7400 block of West Florissant. You can see through the window. Some chairs have been knocked over. There is soot along with water damage actually throughout the building. It appears the church is the only place on this block that has been vandalized. I talked with Pastor Lee just a few minutes ago. He says he's been protesting for Mike Brown since August, and he's devastated that his church was destroyed.
This is dangerous here. This is the church I put my all. I emptied out my bank accounts, my kids' bank accounts, my wife's bank account,